In the end, the world did not fall with a scream. It ended with a whisper and a memory. What you've just heard was the aftermath, the final seconds inside a bunker built to save humanity, as the sky emptied and the ground tore itself apart and history collapsed into silence. Now we go back to when the lights were still on, back to when the streets were full and control still felt possible, back to the moment before the inevitability gained momentum. This is where the end truly began, not with fire or monsters or judgment, but with a door opening in a quiet office and a man who believed the world still could be managed. This is Chapter 1. The Omen Approaches. Sir Colin Michaels had built a life around control. He knew every detail of his world, the precise knot of his tie, the sharp angles of his paperwork, the quiet hum of a well-ordered government. Which is why he noticed the disturbance the moment the door opened. The polished oak desk before him reflected the pale morning sunlight, its surface an altar to precision, a faint scuff mark on one corner, an imperfection he had yet to address. His tea, cooled just enough to drink, sat untouched beside a meticulously arranged stack of documents, order, structure and routine. And now disruption. The door swung open harder than it should have. Anthony Sterling, his permanent secretary, stepped in, still half out of his jacket. His movements were measured but stiff, as if suppressing the instinct to rush. Anthony was a man of control, much like Colin, composed and professional. But today his face betrayed something different. Not panic, not yet, but a knowing. A folder was clutched in his hand, its edges slightly crumpled, the grip of a man holding on to something heavier than mere paper. Colin didn't react immediately. Instead, he placed his pen down with slow precision, a faint clink of metal against wood punctuating the silence. His fingers lingered against the desk, tracing the scuff mark as if its presence suddenly demanded attention. Then, without looking up, "Compose yourself, Tony, and shut the door." Anthony obeyed, his fingers reaching back without turning, sealing them into quiet isolation with a muted click. He stepped forward and placed the folder on the desk. The impact was soft, but it sent a ripple through Colin's tea. A single drop spilled into the saucer, a minor imperfection in an otherwise flawless morning. Colin's jaw tightened. He straightened the folder carefully, aligning its corners with the edges of the desk, and only then did he look at Anthony. "Sit." Anthony did, his shoulders subtly hunched. His fingers twitched once against his knee before stilling. "Now," Colin said, leaning back slightly, his gaze unwavering. "Explain." Anthony exhaled. "We've detected something, sir." Colin remained silent, waiting. "In space," Anthony clarified. Then, after a short pause, he added, "It's moving. Not just moving, adjusting its course." That got Colin's attention. His fingers resting lightly against each other, slowly steepled beneath his chin. "Go on." Anthony swallowed. "It's unlike anything we've ever seen. The trajectory is too precise. It's not natural." His voice lowered, as though speaking the words aloud might make them more real. "It's changing velocity as it approaches." Colin pressed his fingers together, too hard. His knuckles turned white as Anthony continued. "It's entered the system from interstellar space, sir. It's beyond Pluto now, but decelerating. At its current rate, it will reach near-Earth orbit in 35 days. Colin remained still, his face unreadable. 1,000 scenarios passed through his mind, each one collapsing under the weight of the unknown. For the first time in years, he had no answer. His voice, when it came, was steady. "Do the Americans know?" "Yes, sir," Anthony replied. "And the Chinese." Colin leaned back further into his chair, fingers still locked beneath his chin. "Of course they do." For the first time that morning, the tea sat forgotten on his desk. His gaze drifted back to the faint scuff on the wood, its presence suddenly magnified. Beyond it, through the window, London carried on, blissfully unaware. Anthony hesitated before speaking again. His voice was lower now, measured, but carrying something darker beneath it. "Sir," he said, "there's one more thing." Colin's eyes flicked back to him. The object. Anthony's throat bobbed. It sent a signal. Colin's head snapped towards him. "What kind of signal?" "We don't know yet," Anthony admitted. "It's a sequence. Complex. Repeating." Colin's hands, which had been locked together, finally loosened. Just slightly, blood returning to his knuckles. But he didn't move them. He didn't move at all. His right hand then drifted towards his teacup, but at the last second he knocked it slightly, sending a ripple through the liquid. A small splash darkened the crisp edge of an innocent document beneath it. He didn't wipe it away. Outside, London remained oblivious. The early morning traffic moved as it always did. Red buses rattled through the streets, their passengers immersed in emails, headlines, and idle conversation. Pedestrians hurried across rain-slicked roads, heads down against a chill. A plane traced a thin white scar through the sky. Life continued. Unaware of the shadow creeping toward it, silent and patient through the void. Order has a way of cracking quietly. A scuffed desk, a spilled cup of tea, a signal from the dark that refuses to be ignored. Sir Colin Michaels still believes in systems, in authority, in the idea that if something can be named, it can be contained. But the universe has spoken, not with words, but with intent. Something is coming. It's not drifting, it's choosing. And now that the signal has been heard, it cannot be unheard. If you're enjoying And Man Was a Vengeful Creation, please take a moment to like, subscribe and share. It genuinely helps these stories find new listeners drifting in the dark. Join us next time as the signal is studied, meanings are imposed, and humanity makes its first fatal mistake, believing that the omen was meant to be understood. Until then, watch the sky.